The duck is back, and that's a fact. He's a pain and he's a brat. Here we are again. And I know you'll all be missing me. Tonight, I've got to do a recap for a customer. And that customer is the one with the Ironhorse chopper. We got to the point of, I say again for all of you out there, and especially those Valley locals, that this customer was happy for the bike to be here because he had another bike and he was not in a hurry. He just wants me to do it properly, which it is. We got to the point of taking it in for a warrant. And I done a video on this tank, this fuel tank. This is a fuel tank off it. I done a video on this fuel tank a while back, and I was suspicious that it didn't have a liner, and long story short, it didn't. And it had quite a few problems. I'm going to try and go through with them and try and let the customer see what the problems I'm having with it. So first off, it has a inserted cap into the lid, into the top of it, which is quite tricky, quite trippy. And then on the inside of this, see whether it's gonna show you. On the inside here, just trying to see, just in the shop, you have this hole, right? And on that hole, there was a pipe. This pipe, and you can see this pipe was going through the center of the tank. You can see, I'll just try and, so you can see how rusty it was. I'm having trouble seeing. Anyway, long story short, this went from this hole here, through the tank, and it came out here, right? And these two things that I believe what Brian and Trevor have done is they've either, the tank never had a liner, so it started rusting from the inside out. And at some point, this pipe, I believe, got a hole in it, and it started leaking fuel out the bottom, because this hole here is just to get rid of the water. If you can imagine, when you're riding along, the water goes into this groove here. There's a recess here. It's full of paint and bog, but the water goes into there, down that pipe, and gets drained away out underneath. This got a hole in it, and started leaking petrol, letting the petrol leak out. Or my first idea was that where this pipe came out here, it would have been sticking out. I would have said the original tank manufacturers would have had that sticking out like so. Would have been sticking out. And what a lot of hot rodders and show bike guys, what they do is they talk a lot about lines, do the lines look right? And it's like, if you've got a nice shaped tank like this, and it is a really nice shaped tank, and then on this side there's this big blob, of steel sticking out here, down like this, it upsets the line, you see, and they don't like the looks. And then they think, oh, well, you know, I live in California or wherever this bike was, where they don't have a lot of rain probably, like, I don't know, somewhere in the States. And, we don't need that. So they chop it off and they welded it up, right? And then, of course, the bike comes to New Zealand, and old mate, every time he takes his cap off, gets caught in a shower of rain, takes the cap off, and then, of course, all the water, what's meant to go through the pipe and out, down underneath, then runs straight into the fuel. So then you've got water in your fuel, and it's also rusting the tank out, which is sending all this crap down the fuel line into the carburetor. So, long story short, we got to fix it. And I've just remembered, I've forgotten the most critical thing. I'll just pause it and see if I can find it. Right, okay. So, basically we got to replace this pipe, weld up that hole. I found a bung to bung up the tap outlet, and because we got to fix this, and then we've got to put an acid solution through the tank and put the paint in and all the rest of it. A tank sealing kit is what I've got. The other problem that I have with this tank is once that pipe is done, I've then got to seal off this lid here. And in the video on YouTube, they say, oh, you just put a piece of plastic over this and use your lid. Well, I'm looking at this lid and I'm thinking it's quite a trippy fuel cap. I wouldn't like to try and get another one, so I've decided that I'm not going to actually risk that cap, and I've decided to make my own cap. And this is what I've done, made up here, and basically it's a washer welded to another washer. And then I've put this thread through here into this, you see, into that. And the idea is that it will go down here like so into that, and then I'll turn it and then do that cap head up. And I got that far, and then I realised that I needed something to stop this from spinning. So I realised I can drill and tap in here and put a couple of bolts through like that from the underside and chop them off. And then that will stop this thing from turning, you see. I'll put one in there and one in there, you see. And then as this thing does up, you see, it closes the gap, you see, and then I'll have a bit of rubber on here to go to seal it, and that should work really good. The unfortunate thing what I did is when I welded this, because this is a high tensile washer, I think off a Scania truck or something. This is high tensile washer, and I should have heated the thing up before I welded the two together. And because I didn't heat it up, this weld went red hot, went cooled too quick and went like concrete. And now I'm having trouble getting the thread through. So I'm probably going to have to heat it up and throw it in the old tea tree fire again. But anyway, so that goes in there like so. I'll get those other two things in, and then we'll turn it and then do it up. Do it up. You see, without those two bolts there, it just turns. But anyway, that's the one I've been struggling with for a while, because I didn't want the headache of having to find another one of these bloody things. I went to the shop in town, and there wasn't a cheap way, and then I thought of this as a cheap way out of it. And as like I say to a lot of you, you know, it's good to make these tools, because someone else will have the same problem. You sure as hell. So, next thing is what I decided to do with this is I'm going to weld that up. That'll get rebobbed. But what I'm going to do with this pipe, instead of bringing it out the front here, I'm actually going to bring it into this recess, right? And this recess, we can have that pipe then stick down, we can have it sitting down 15, 20 mil, and because of this lip here, you won't actually see it, and it can just drip water onto the top of the head, on the top of the heads of the motor. You're running along, it'll just run off and vaporize off. So I was going to put a straight pipe straight from here, straight through the bottom, and weld it. The problem is with that is that whenever you put straight pieces of steel through objects what have heat growing and expanding, which is what these tanks do. If you can imagine on a hot summer's day, this tank grows and sinks. It moves depending on how much petrol's in there, or depending on how much it expands and grows. So putting a pipe straight from here straight through is not a good idea, because I'm hoping to use which is a silver steel, which is, it's like brass, but it's got lots of silver, and it's just about, and silver steel let the new pipe in, and that type of weld won't tolerate a lot of movement, right? So this is my cunning plan, right? I've decided to make one of these. Now this is brake pipe with a copper insert, right? And what I'm going to do is I got a piece of, I think it was what was it? It was a broomstick or a shovel handle or something like that, and I wrapped this around it. And of course, what this is the new pipe. You see what I'm going to put through here, right? And it'll be put in through the bottom, and I'll wind it in. See, it'll go in and it'll wind into the tank, and I'll get it in the tank, and then I'll put it up into that hole, and then I'll silver steel it in with the gas. Right? Now, the reason why I've made this coil like that is it's actually a type of spring. And what that will actually do is it will actually allow this, it'll actually allow this to move a bit, right? If the temperature is, if the top of the tank wants to come up a little bit, this little bit of spring here, it will actually allow it to happen, right? And you can actually, I can't demonstrate it I can't demonstrate it on, but or maybe I can. I don't know if you can see that, but it actually moves. It actually moves in and out like a little spring. I've just straightened it. I've got to recut it because the end of it's still not right, and then carefully file that hole, and then obviously this is too long. I'll cut that just so I can get it into position, and then cut the excess off once it's in. So on it goes. That's where I'm up to with it. To be perfectly honest, it took me a little while to get my head around this setup. I think it's going to work really well. Got to get these two pieces into there. Obviously, it won't have the cap head on there. I'll just probably chop that cap head off and put a screwdriver slot into it. There'll be two of them on each side of that, you see, and that'll stop this thing going round and round when I put it in and turn it, you see, and then it's just a case of doing it up with a rubber seal. Anyway, when this bike came to me, I thought, oh yeah, just put a new wiring loom in it and she'll be honky dory. And well, that sorted out the wiring loom and that, but as you know, Jesus, it's just gone on and on and on. And but at the end of the day, it will be done right and it'll go grouse. And once we've got that sealed off, I'm going to put some paint stripper in there because it looks like it's got some paint. They say in the instructions for that tank seal, if it looks like there's paint in there, put paint in there. Got to paint strip it, clean that out, and then acid clean it. I think it's 12 hours of turning it in acid. I'll have to read the instructions again. And then the neutralizer to neutralise that, and then the paint, roll it, and then it'll probably be ready to go to the repainters. Yeah, on and on. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting, and have a good one.